Welcome to the video that I've been talking about for 4 months. But we're not going to talk about that. I was doing other things. I learned After Effects a bit, which I'm going to use in this video. Not to any crazy extent. I'm still very much so learning, obviously. But it's a start, and I'm going to record this video right now, and I'm going to do one take, and I don't care what happens. And it's going to be fantastic, right? What is this video? Saw the title. I mean, you probably know this is my Game of the Year tier list video, where I take every game that I played that came out last year and rank them on a tier list. This only includes games that actually released last year. There's plenty of games that I played on top of these that didn't come out last year, like A Link to the Past, Vampire Survivors, whatever else. There was a bunch of other ones, Shantae. These are not included. It's only games that came out last year. I feel like I need to give you a million disclaimers because this is about to get real negative real quick, because I'm going to start from the bottom of the list and go up. There's a lot of games on this list that I did like, obviously. Most of the games, in fact. But we're gonna have to start at the bottom of the barrel. So bear with me. If you don't want to hear the negativity, skip ahead a few minutes, or more than a few minutes, perhaps. If you're watching this live, because I am going to debut this video live on Twitch, hello, look at this. I'm waving at you from the past, but I'm directly pointing at you. I know you're watching this. I know you're watching me watch this with you. How does it feel? You can't really skip ahead. I mean, you could leave the stream for an unknown amount of time if you really want to, but I don't know. I feel like at this point, if you are here, you understand that I like to be very critical. Perhaps unfairly so in some ways. I have to get that out of the way first, okay? I just have to. Without further ado, let's go over all of the games that are going to be on the list in just completely random order so you know what to expect. Here are the games that I played that are nominated, I guess, for this tier list from 2024.
Now, I know that I just said without further ado, but in classic fashion of chaotic nonsense, I actually do have some things that I need to do first. These are the games that came out last year that I am either interested in or curious about that I didn't get to play. Now, the top row, that's a bunch of games that I do genuinely think, if I played them, that I would enjoy them quite a bit to varying degrees.
Nearing the end of editing this video, and I actually bought Super Mario Party Jamboree, and I am liking it quite a bit. So later on in the video, I'm gonna fake throw it into the list.
The middle row is a bunch of games I'm a little more unsure about, but in general, I probably think that I would like them, to various degrees. And then the bottom row, it's less about I'm actually interested in playing them and more about I'm curious about what I would actually feel about them. If you know me at all and you think that there's something on here that I would definitely like, outside of the ones on the top row, because I'm pretty confident in those ones, let me know. Now let's get to the games I actually did play in no particular order.
Balatro, Diceomancer, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Silent Hill 2, Pow World, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Rivals of Aether 2, Astrobot, Marvel Rivals, Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown, Helldivers 2, Animal Well, Shogun Showdown, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor, ReFantazio, Another Crab's Treasure, The Plucky Squire, Kidnitsugami Path of the Goddess, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Nine Souls, Concord, Elden Ring Shout of the Erdtree, Nova Drift, X Defiant, Flintlock The Siege of Dawn, Mouthwashing, Tribreaker, Secret Sandals Odyssey, Persona 3 Reload. Cool! Look at all those games. There's so many good games in there. I wonder where they're gonna be on the tier list. Speaking of the tier list, let's look at it briefly. A blank version. Interesting. I wonder how many spots there were. Ooh. What could be in the F spot? What could be in the S spot? Why are there so many A's? It must be because I'm Canadian. Prepare yourself. At the very bottom of this list, number 1, aka number 30. You want to know something really funny before I start this tier list? Is that I just already recorded the part where I talk about the next game, but I recorded it first because I thought that I put it last, but actually this game's last. But I told myself that I am not re-recording this. I refuse. I'm doing one take. So, if something I say for the second game doesn't quite make sense, it's because I recorded it first, thinking that it was last. But actually, this game's last. So I might repeat myself backwards, and it might not make sense, but it makes more sense now because I'm telling you this now, okay? See what I'm saying? It's taken me so long to put out this video that I just don't care. I'm not doing another take. I'm just gonna reorganize them, and you'll have no idea. You would have had no idea, but I'm telling you. F-tier, forgettable, unremarkable copycats. The first game, actually, even though I called the next game the first game, I think, is Outworld. Listen, there's so many things wrong with this. Hey, it's me from the future. The video is basically done, and I realized that I wanted to interject here and say a few things. I know I said I'm going to be getting a little negative here and critical, and that is true, but I actually have removed a decent amount of the negativity that I originally said. I really cut down this segment because I'm trying to be a little bit less negative in general, and I realize that sometimes I go a little bit overboard and it might come off as though I'm insulting individuals, and I never want that to be the case. Like, I never go this far, but it's almost in this direction, like calling people dumb for liking a game, for instance. That's definitely a bit much. Don't do that if you do that. Criticism is totally fine, but you don't want to make anything personal. Also, if you're someone who likes to call games trash, or garbage, or slop, or we're throwing around the term woke like it's an insult, figure out how to explain your feelings a little bit better. That's not criticism, you just don't have anything of value to say. Let's just stop doing that. You'll notice throughout this video that I go back and forth pretty often between talking about something positively and then talking about something I don't like, and that's just because I pay attention to every little thing when I'm playing a game and I overanalyze them, and maybe that's not your style and that's totally fine. Some people strictly play games just to enjoy them, and that's like totally normal, obviously. I just like thinking about them on like every level, which maybe that's weird, but that's kind of what spawns a video like this for me. So I just wanted to clarify that regardless of whatever I say here about any of these games, especially the first two, because they are the two games on this list that I genuinely think are not good. Everything else I think is good, I just enjoyed them to different degrees. Don't take anything personally, like I'm not trying to say that you are dumb if you like these games, because there's millions of people that like these games, obviously. So I don't want it to come off like that. And also, don't do that to other people. People play video games, myself included, to enjoy them and to share that love with other people. So just be nice to each other, okay? Okay, let's get on with the video. I don't want to spend too long on this because I've talked about it at length. Let's give a little disclaimer. I don't think that Pokemon has been in a good spot for over a decade. So no, I'm not coming at a place as some like Pokemon fanboy being like, oh, how dare they defame the name of the great and wonderful and flawless Pokemon franchise. Pokemon has been almost consistently getting worse for like 12 years now. So it's not that. Don't worry about that. But Outworld is so clearly straight up ripping off the designs, specifically designs, the look of Pokemon, that it's kind of scary that there's not more of an uproar against this. Obviously there was a pretty considerable one, but then, like I was just saying, you get lost in people having really frustrating debates of being like, well, you're just defending the big corporate Nintendo overlord. How dare you? You're a freaking Nintendo shill, bro. Man, get off Game Freak's dick. It's like, you can't have that conversation because people just want to reduce it to something stupid. So that's frustrating. It's not just about like the overall look of some of these things, which is extremely obviously blatantly copying Pokemon, but it's like the mixing and matching of various different aspects of Pokemon. It's like eye shapes, tail shapes, designs of like electric bolts and stuff on some of these creatures. They're not all one-for-one direct copies of exact other Pokemon. It's like this one's basically the head of this one and the eyeballs of this one, and then they put the feet of this one on it. Like, well, it's not copying a Pokemon. No, it's copying 3 different ones. Congrats. And no, this doesn't mean that people can't make games that are about capturing creatures in balls. That's also frustrating that Pokemon is targeting this game in that way, like with lawsuits. Like, that's the problem. Capturing things in balls is the problem. No, don't agree with that either. That's silly. It's more so the creative visual bankruptcy that this team seems to have, unfortunately, where they really cashed in and people bought it. It's Pokemon with guns. Like, okay, but like have your own design philosophy behind the creatures, maybe. This does not apply to everything because like you could apply this to something like Ni no Kuni, Cassette Beasts,
Temtem?
There's various different things that are like obviously inspired by Pokemon in one way or another, but have their complete own unique visual identity. You can't overlap them with Pokemon and confuse people and trick people into thinking that they actually might be Pokemon. That's what Palworld is, and that's why I'm pretty against it. On top of that, I already said this about the next game on the list, so technically I'm about to repeat myself, so I'm going to keep it short here. But just know everything I say about the next game is what I think about this game. It just feels like you're swinging at nothing and shooting at nothing. There's no impact to any of the weapons. Like, how many times do I have to keep saying this? I don't get it. I don't get how people don't see this. It feels bad. There's no feedback or impact or resistance or feeling of like collision or anything with anything. It just feels like you're swinging and shooting at air, and I just can't deal with it anymore. And also, I just don't like crafting and survival games, so really, I played this game out of curiosity, wanted to have an opinion on it, because I cannot stand when there's so many people that clearly don't play games and then spew just completely nonsensical things. I don't like that, so I'm gonna go out of my way to play it. Now I can say what I said. I don't have anything good to say about this game, frankly. On to the next. Marvel Rivals. Oh, how many things I could say about this. How do I not make this entire video like 4 hours long? Let me start off with a positive, okay? This game looks lovely. I love the art style. I love how colorful it is. I love how it kind of invokes Persona or Hi-Fi Rush, that type of, not necessarily cel-shaded, maybe it is, I don't really know what that means at this point, but it's got like a cartoonish flavor to it. It's got very hard edges. This is like my preferred way for a game to look, basically. So, high points in that regard. And that is where my compliments end. I think that this game is genuinely unsatisfactory in every other way. I don't care about Marvel. If anything, something being Marvel makes me, it's like a negative towards it for me, because I don't care about anything superhero related. I've enjoyed the Spider-Man games quite a bit, but that's because it's Insomniac doing it, and they're just kind of great at everything that they do. And let me just, this isn't just about Marvel Rivals, but I feel like I need to set a precedent for how I view video games in general when I'm like critiquing them. In most cases, I'm not trying to present something as though I think that it is a fact. I am coming from my own perspective. When I say that I don't think something is good, or that I don't like something, that's just how a particular game affects me, and how it vibes with me. Which I feel like is something that you shouldn't need to state as a disclaimer, but I think that part of the problem, oh my god, I'm already going into a tangent about damn it, I didn't want to do this. Okay, maybe I'll cut this out. Probably not. You're watching this being like, wow, he's really going to start a rant in the middle of the video. At the beginning of the video with the first game, this list is never going to progress. This is going to be 2 hours long. Whoops. I had somebody call me out when they looked at my reviews on Backlogged and were like, oh, you gave this game like a 2 out of 5 and like this game a 1.5 out of 5. Talking about either like Red Dead or like a Batman game or something. And it's like, I'm not necessarily, when I'm reviewing things as a critic, which I'm not, that term doesn't really mean much of anything at this point. I'm like, how much did I enjoy this video game? From 1 to a 10. I'm not, how good of a video game do I think this is from a 1 to a 10. I'm not trying to apply objectivity to it. I'm simply putting it out there like, I think that this game probably is pretty good, maybe, but I really didn't enjoy it. That's not the case with Marvel Rivals, though. I really just don't think this is a very good video game in any regard. It does a lot of the things that I find problematic in video games, where it just feels like nothing. There's no impact to anything that you do in the game. It doesn't matter if you hit an opponent or not. The shots feel the same. The swings feel the same. If you hit or miss your enemy, there's no difference. It doesn't feel good to shoot things or to hit things. There's no impact. There's no feedback. There's nothing interesting happening on screen that like makes it feel fun. It's just total weightlessness. You feel like you're just like floating in a void and things are happening around you. There's no weight to anything. I just think it really does not play very well at all. It feels extremely generic in that regard. There's gonna be a little bit of a theme with this game potentially coming up later in this video. I'm sure you are aware of what game is going to be rightfully or unrightfully compared to this, or has been from the internet in general over the course of the last year. There might be a little bit of pettiness. Maybe. Just a little bit. Just because of the way that this game was treated even before it was out in regards to something else. But that's okay. E tier. Everyone's gonna be a little bit pissed at me, but they really didn't speak to me. I'm sorry. Alright, I'm not gonna spend as much time on these next ones because I knew that I was gonna spend a lot of time on those two. So next, we've got Animal Well. I feel like I'm just going hard on these games that are actually very highly regarded at the bottom of this list, which, you know, it's not intentional, I swear. The top of my list is also extremely well regarded, okay? I'm not just being contrarian here, contrarian, but I am going to be a little bit negative. So, I played Animal Well, assuming that, like most Metroidvanias, there would be a fun combat system. That's my problem. That's my own fault. Just making an assumption there. I don't really watch trailers for games. I'll watch like the first trailer for something and then never watch or look into anything else. That looks interesting. I want to play it, therefore I don't want to know anything else about it. I do that for almost every game, especially if it's from a developer that I already know. Then I'll try to learn even less information. But something like this, coming from Big Mode, coming from Donkey's publisher, I was like, okay, this seems like a cool new initiative with that whole team. People seem really positive about this. I'm gonna try it. It was on like PlayStation Plus, so if it wasn't on PlayStation Plus, I don't think I would have bought it I didn't have that much curiosity about it, so that's also part of this. But yeah, I just I didn't really care for it. It was all about exploration, I guess, which I'm a massive fan of. I love exploring in video games. It's like probably number 2 on my list of things that I care about, but it was also just super heavily reliant on puzzles and problem solving, and that's extremely low on my list for what I like in video games. I just didn't find it very fun, and that's all I really want out of a game like this, is for it to be fun, and just the act of moving around this map, solving problems, just wasn't doing it for me. I don't know. This is kind of where I'm talking about, like, I don't think this is a bad game at all. The last two, yes. This one, absolutely not. It's not a bad game. It's just not a game that I ever have a chance of enjoying. Because in a game of this style, what I'm looking for is a fun combat system. And it's just not here, which again, my fault, but also I'm not going to look into something like that about something like this necessarily, because the risks outweigh the rewards if I learn more about games before I play them. Because I love to be surprised. Lots of the games on this list, I would have liked less if I watched more trailers about them. Most people are probably going to disagree with. I just don't think this game is fun, and what this game is good at, I don't really care about, which is not completely true. This is weird because it almost invokes like the try things and figure them out that like the most recent Zelda games are really good at, like expressing yourself through creative solutions, which I love. Next up, we have Rivals of Aether 2. This is probably going to upset people. As a massive Super Smash Bros. Fan, I consistently, time and time again, look to other games of a similar ilk to satisfy that desire I have for a new Smash game all the time, and I'm just consistently disappointed. The only time I've ever truly enjoyed something that's like Smash was PlayStation All-Stars. And I'm starting to realize that the reason I like it so much, both Smash and PlayStation All-Stars, is that it's a bunch of video game characters, and part of the fun of it is like discovering how those characters are implemented based on how they perform in their own games. And like, that's just not relevant here, obviously, because these are just random characters that have been made up for this game or for the game that it's a sequel to. I just don't care. And this is going to sound a little bit contradictory on my feelings of Concord, because with Concord, I swear I'm not gonna make a rant. I have a small point because I'm going to contradict myself later. Concord, people's complaints are, I don't resonate with the characters, I don't like them, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, the rest of the game is so good. Why do you care so much about what the characters look like? Like, that's a stance that I have. But here, my problem with Rivals of Aether is that I don't care about the characters, and I even like the way they look. I think that the game looks nice. I like the designs of the characters. It's just not Smash, so I don't care. Like, it's not video game characters. I don't know. It's a weird disconnect, but like, I didn't have that much fun playing it because I didn't want to invest in any of these characters. But also it's because like playing a multiplayer game, this is going to come up a couple times, playing a multiplayer game, I don't like playing games unless I'm very good at them. You probably see on stream me getting annoyed at things when I'm not good at them. So it just feels like this is one of those games where I gotta put like dozens, if not hundreds of hours to truly feel satisfied with the way that I'm playing the game, and I don't want to do that. Therefore, I'm just gonna bail early. I got a taste of it. I think that it's obviously very competent and good. One of the better attempts at Smash, for sure. Not gonna argue that again. I don't think this is a bad game whatsoever. I just didn't really enjoy it because I didn't put hundreds of hours into it. If I did, I'm sure I would. I just don't want to because I want to play all these other games. That's literally all. Basically, my only criticism of this is that I'd rather play a few dozen other games than only play this, which is a dumb, completely stupid thing to say. I'm aware of this. It has nothing to do with the game. It's just how I play games. I'm sorry, Rivals of Aether, that you're down here. You don't deserve to, but I just didn't want to keep playing you after a few hours, frankly.
There's something that I want to add here, actually, which is that there's a culture around Smash-like games that I feel like is a little bit of a put-off, for me at least. It feels very difficult to just play them casually. It seems like everyone that's interested in them, including the developers themselves, are very dead set on it being competitive and being an esport. And this doesn't only just apply to Smash-like games. This is a fighting game thing in general, but it's also a multiplayer game thing in even more general terms. It definitely happens with shooters as well. I personally find it hard to get into them because if I don't want to take the game super seriously, it's hard to like fit in with the people that do play the game because it feels like everyone wants to take it really seriously. And like when I jump in to some casual matches when I first start playing Rivals of Aether 2 and everyone's just running around wave dashing, it's like, okay, we're already at this point. Like I don't want to do that, but like you have to, because you're definitely not going to have fun if I'm just getting destroyed. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's something there that consistently puts me off, and like it doesn't exist as much in Smash itself, in my opinion, because it is more of a broad strokes casual game that happens to also have a competitive side to it. But these games that are trying to like emulate it really are only emulating the competitive side, in my view at least. I know that like Nick All-Stars tried to not do that with like a roguelike single player mode and whatnot, but again, to me it's all about being video game characters. So like I don't know how to sum this up. It feels like something like Rivals of Aether 2, their target demographic is specifically people who are really into competitive Super Smash Bros. Melee, which if you are in that scene, I'm sure that feels like a massive group of people, and like it is, and it's a great community, and there's cool people in there, and I love Melee. It's just like there is something to be said about something appealing to a more broad demographic, because I don't fit into that crowd necessarily, despite being a massive Smash fan, and this game being catered so hard directly to that, it's immediately clear to me when I boot up the game, even in casual matches, like that's a put off for me, and Smash is like top 3 franchise for me. Like I love it. And you're going to put me off? Like, it just feels like a very limited group of people that you can really target. But then, of course, if you're within that group, you're like, yeah, I love this because this is exactly for me. I don't know. I just worry about the sustainability, I guess. I don't know anything about the game's budget, who's playing it, its longevity. I'm just saying words at this point. Let's move on. I don't even know if I'm making a good point, to be honest. It's just how I feel.
Next up on the list is a little bit of a weird one, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. I don't have a lot to say about this. I probably played it for about somewhere between 5 and 10 hours. And at that point, I was like, you know what? This is kind of a little bit repetitive. I'm not really enjoying it. I thought that I might because I do like tactical RPGs to some degree. And I love the art style. I love the setting. I like a lot of different things about this. It just got repetitive pretty quickly. I don't like when you have to like base build kind of, or like go back to a town and like build things up and like getting resources to like get people to build things for you, like all of that. I'm just like, I never enjoy doing that. And the combat itself was pretty interesting. It's a cool idea. Basically, you're switching between directly controlling characters and placing them on more of a like an overall battlefield. It's a cool combination. I just don't think that it was executed well enough for me to enjoy the combat. It was very repetitive and there wasn't very much that you could do. It was pretty limited feeling. I'm sure it opens up more, but again, I didn't like that I was going into fights and then backing out and then going to a town and like doing a little thing and then going, and then it just there was no good flow there for me, so I just kind of just bailed. Again, I don't think that this is a bad game. I think it's kind of boring. Yeah, maybe. Next on the list, X Defiant. I actually kind of enjoyed this for a couple weeks, but that's all it lasted for me. It wore off pretty quickly. There was a little bit of a weird latency or like a delay almost, it felt like. So that was a little rough. Otherwise, it was very clearly just trying to spoof Call of Duty, make their own take on it. I liked how they pulled factions from various different Ubisoft games. That was cool. In the end, I think this was around the time right before, like leading into Concord, that I was playing this, and I dropped it real quick when I played Concord. That's basically what happened. I wanted to be playing a shooter at the time, and then I was playing this for a bit, and I was like, once in a while I'm enjoying this. Again, it's kind of getting repetitive. I really don't think that anything about it stands out, and eventually I just didn't want to play it anymore. Finish off the E tier. Next we have Tri-Breaker. Sacred Symbols Odyssey, I think is the subtitle. Unfortunately, I did not really care for this. It's a sequel to Twin Breaker, which I liked quite a bit. The Brick Breaker by a podcast, or a studio that is owned by a podcast that I really like. So I liked some of the inside jokes and stuff that were buried in here, but I really just don't like the direction this game took. It's basically a brick breaker. The first game is where you have like two different paddles and you're controlling them separately around the screen, and it makes for an interesting take on a brick breaker. This, they added like a freaking penis that you can control. Like, it's just, I didn't like the experimentation with the gameplay, I guess I will say. And it one of very few sequels that I think is actually worse than the original. I rarely say that about games. I think that franchises generally get better as they go along, almost consistently across the board. This one, not so much. So that was the F tier and the E tier. Now let's move on to D tier, and this is where I think we're past the stuff that I'm going to be mostly negative about. D tier. Don't really want to play them anymore. They do have things that I adore. D tier, I enjoyed. I just think that they have some problems. This one's a little bit of a disappointment for me. The Plucky Squire. Leading up to this game's release, I thought that this was going to be like one of the highlights of the year. I was like, oh, this is a cool take on like some sort of storybook Zelda-esque 2D/3D merging of genres. And like all of this is true. And the game actually starts out pretty strong, but over the course of the game, the first third of the game, I'd say was pretty great. Then by the second third, it was, okay, we're still doing this, and nothing really interesting has changed. And then by the final third, I guess you would say, I was just like, all right, let's get this over with. The charm had worn off. It just loses steam over the course of it. I don't even know if I would say that it's too long. A game like this probably should be as long as it is, which is not very long. Part of the problem is that it just really never lets go of holding your hand. It's always trying to help you do things. It's always starting and stopping. The pacing is just way off. Every time you get to a new page, it just like slows to a halt and then slowly tells you a little bit about what's going on in the story, or there's some dialogue. It just really doesn't know how to keep up the pace at all. That was frustrating. The boss fights were really cool. They were all very different, almost It Takes Two-esque, Hazelight-esque, where they just throw in completely random ass different genres at you for the boss fights, like a shooter or like a card game or whatever, a bunch of different things. So that was cool. It's very cute and charming. Normally something like that might be a put off to me, but in this game I think it works really well and I liked it a lot. It's just, the game is just too easy, and it really likes to keep reminding you about how to play it and make sure that you're never struggling. It was a little bit frustrating.
Diceomancer.
Played this close to the end of the year. I didn't even know it existed. And then all of a sudden I was like, this is kind of neat. This basically looks like Slay the Spire. So I have to play it because I love Slay the Spire so much that I need to play anything that is remotely like it. And in a lot of ways, yeah, it is a lot like it. And it does a lot of good things. But the primary mechanic of the game is that you can basically randomize or alter or cheat the system by changing the number of either the amount of damage you're doing or taking, or the amount of health an enemy has, or yours, or the amount of drawing you're gonna do, or what. There's basically any number on the screen can be altered. So you constantly have a million different things that you could do every turn. So I think it's just way too open. There's not enough restriction. I know it's the primary mechanic of the game, but like coming from playing Slay the Spire that's very rigid and has a very strict rule set, and that's what makes it so engaging and replayable, and the sense of risk reward is so tight. This game, which is basically Slay the Spire, but then has this like looming thing in the background basically every turn, because you have a finite amount of resources of this randomization of rolling the dice. But realistically, you can do it very often, and it's always in the back of your mind, like, well, should I just randomize this or should I keep playing normally? And I didn't like constantly thinking about that because I was just trying to play the game. But otherwise, I mean, it is a very cool game, and if you like the sound of that, I suggest trying it. There's a lot of people that definitely really like it. I like everything about it except primary gimmick, if you will. Art style is a bit weird too. I don't know if I'm a fan of it. Again, probably a unpopular take here. I'm sure people do mostly like it. It's just not my kind of art style. I'm not going to edit this in out of order. I'm going to put it all right here because this is when I thought to remember to say it. Power World and Marvel Rivals and Kunitsugami and Animal Well, I did not finish. I played less than like 10 hours of. You can't finish a multiplayer game, but I played less than 10 hours of all of those. Obviously, Animal Well, I only played a couple hours because I'm sure it's not very long of a game. Rivals of Aether also less than 10 hours. Defiant, I probably played for 20 to 30. Tribreaker, I did complete. Lucky Squire, I did complete. Diceomancer, I did complete, but similar to Slay the Spire, you can keep going at higher levels and stuff. I just wanted to get that out of the way because what usually ends up happening is that I don't finish a lot of the games that are at the bottom of these lists, and that's why they're at the bottom of these lists, is because I didn't feel compelled to play them for very long. So obviously there's a correlation there. The higher up the list you go, the more likely it is that I've beaten the game. Outside of this next one and then one more that's a little bit of an anomaly higher up on the list, I've beaten all the rest of the games. Speaking of, the next one, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. I did not beat this. Again, probably played it for around 10 hours, 5 to 10. It's one of those, I think it was a self-proclaimed Souls Light, which is, I'm not going to even remotely breach that topic right now because I don't want to spend forever here. But it's somewhat of a valid description, I would say. It's a little similar to Bloodborne in the way that it works. It's most similar to Bloodborne, I should say, in that you kind of have a gun and you have a melee weapon. It's pretty mobile. I liked a lot of the ideas here. I just don't think that the game plays very well. Again, comes down to what I was talking about the first couple games. This one feels pretty good. It's like it's almost there, but it's just not. It's too floaty. It's a little bit unresponsive and it lacks impact with both, again, the shots and the melee hits. But it's somewhere in between. It's definitely not bad. It didn't feel good enough for me to want to keep playing it. I loved some of the mobility options for sure. That's something that I would love to see in From Software games, which you kind of see in something like Sekiro, not so much in the more grounded FromSoft games. Basically, you could create like little portals in the sky and you could do a little bit of a you traverse through them by like warping to them and stuff, kind of like almost like a grapple hook. You had like double jumps and air dashes and stuff. So all that stuff, I love that. I love mobility options in games. This game is good in that department. It's just the combat itself, not quite there, which kind of the most important part in a game like this to me. There was also a pretty cool mechanic. I don't remember if this is in any other games that are similar. I think it might be, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Basically, you'd have like a multiplier. A multiplier? What am I saying? A multiplier that would rack up as you killed more enemies, and it would be a little bit of a risk reward system. If you got hit, you would lose your multiplier. I don't remember if you lose all of it. I think you did. So you'd have to try to balance fighting multiple enemies in a row without getting hit so that you would gain more experience from them. So that's cool. I like that a lot. All right, now the D tier's over. Those are the games I liked, but I was kind of iffy on. Now let's move on to a couple games that I liked more, but I'm still kind of iffy on or don't care very much about. C tier. These maybe shouldn't be here, but there's so many games I enjoyed this year. The first one being Helldivers 2. Again, another game that people are probably looking at being like, what? Yo, why is that so low though? And here's the thing. From here on up, I think that these two games in C tier are great. I just have some problems. Actually, I don't even know if I necessarily have problems with Helldivers 2. I just didn't like it nearly as much as everybody else did. I think this is a great game. I played it for a couple weeks. I think that part of the problem might have been that I didn't have like a dedicated group of people that I was playing it with consistently. That probably would have made this game more enjoyable for me. I played it with a couple different people, but it was very sporadic. Played it on my own a decent amount. So I think that's a little bit self-imposed on my part. But otherwise, like it's just a little bit awkwardly controlling, but I know that's part of it. That's kind of part of the point, is that it's not like extremely snappy and fluid because it lends to the funny situations that happens. It's supposed to be easy for you to fail and for dumb things to happen and everyone laugh about it, which I've had that experience. I agree. It is a funny, like physical humor game in that way, and the way that the physics work, I get it. It is fun. After a couple weeks, I really just didn't want to keep playing it, which puts it pretty low on this list. But honestly, the only reason that it's this low is because there's an insane amount of very good games that came out last year. I don't think that this game is even remotely bad. This is where the great games start, like I said. Next up, another game that I don't even know would I call it great. I would call it good, but I enjoyed it a little bit more because I did finish it. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Lots of problems here. Obviously, technical issues, which I didn't really have that bad of a problem with the frame rate. I know a lot of people did. I only really had that problem once early on in like one of the first towns you go to. I was like, oh God, this is bad. Is this gonna keep happening? And it didn't really. Like I said, there's a lot of great ideas here. I generally don't really like top-down Zelda games. The only one that I've truly enjoyed was A Link Between Worlds. Otherwise, I just played A Link to the Past recently. It doesn't hold up, didn't like it. If you just clicked off the video, well, that's awkward. I'm mostly a massive 3D Zelda fan, so a 2D or a top-down Zelda has to really do something crazy to really impress me, which hasn't really happened. I just don't like the formula in that perspective as much. I did enjoy a lot about this. I liked how you captured the enemies and stuff and used them for yourself. I loved how a lot of that was mobility based. Early on in the game, I got this one spider that let you like climb walls, and I was very experimental with it and like wandered to like the corner of a lake and then climbed these trees that then led me to an area that I think you're supposed to go later in the game, but I was there way earlier and then captured a couple monsters that were like overpowered and then used them to solve some puzzles that I probably wasn't supposed to have this alternative solution for. So like that's cool. That's very cool. I love the open-endedness. Obviously that's taking straight from the two Switch Zelda games. Love that. Fantastic game design when you can do something like that and it doesn't break the game, like doesn't literally break the game. The problem is that it like figuratively can break the game, because then again, obviously I have a problem when games are too easy. So I did it to myself, but like the game felt too easy because I was overpowered early, but like I would have been anyways. The game is too easy anyways, but I might have made it worse. But also at the same time, I wouldn't trade that, because this game does exploration incredibly well, unsurprisingly, because Zelda is always great in that regard, especially recently, again with the Switch ones. Industry leading in that regard. And this doesn't really stray from that. This is a great implementation of that using this format. And there's a lot of things, obviously, because it's a Zelda game, you have fantastic music, level design is good, the puzzles are actually kind of fun to do, again, because you can experiment with all these different things, but like the UI is so bad, selecting from your list is just so clunky. There's a lot of issues, too easy, too clunky, doesn't run super well. The exploration and the experimentation that you can do in it, whew. Great stuff. All right, let's move on to B tier. Now, here we go. These are great video games. Again, I'm still gonna have some problems with the games in B tier, but for the most part, great. B tier. Better buckle up, buttercup. You're either gonna get an action-packed joyride, or you're gonna feel a little dead inside. Starting with, one sec. Just for reference, this is where I would probably put Mario Party. I've only played 4 rounds of it, so I don't really have that much of an opinion to share. I think it has problems. I think it's very slow in a weird way. It really draws out a lot of the animations and has a lot of starting and stopping. But outside of that, I'm having a great time with it. It's just as fun, if not maybe a little bit better than the previous one, Superstars. So I'm glad they're at least on the right track these days, because they were not for a very long time. This is probably the best one since Mario Party 7, which is my favorite Mario Party. My opinion might change over the course of the next little while. I am going to continue playing it. I'm enjoying playing it on stream. I just wanted to throw that in there. Nopa Drift, a game that is probably one of the top 3 games on here that you probably don't know about, and more people should know about it. It's a rogue-like space shooter game where you go around on a screen and you shoot at things, and it's very fun. I like the way that you build up your ship throughout a run. You can do pretty different things each time. There's a lot of different ways to fight. There's like the more defensive, there's speed oriented, there's power oriented. There's a couple more things that are more experimental, like weird, and you can kind of mix and match all these abilities. Highly recommend this to anybody who likes space shooters at all. This is one of the more fun ones, especially if you like roguelikes, because it's a great combination of the 2 genres. I will say, at the beginning of playing it, I was having issues understanding it, because I believe what happens is that you always have forward momentum, so you have to control it, and there's ways that you can unlock abilities to control it, but like part of the understanding of the game is learning how to play around that, which is not normally the case. So it doesn't control exactly the way that you think that it's going to at first, but it doesn't take that long to get used to it. Just giving you a warning if you do go to play this. It feels off You'll get used to it. If the games I put in the bottom 2 slots didn't spook ya, then this one might. Some of you out there. Black Myth Wukong. What a weird aura around this game, huh? I did not play it when it came out because it came out like basically on the same day as Concord. Very close. And all I wanted to do was play Concord. So I kind of put it off. And because people were just making this whole stupid think about this, people were defending it for political reasons. And there were so many arguments about it. I was like, I don't want any part of this. I'm just going to wait, get it on sale or something. I don't want to deal with this right now. Even though it looks very appealing to me. As somebody who loves Souls games, as somebody who loves God of War. It became pretty obvious pretty quickly that the people that are Souls fans that were playing this were like, this isn't really a Souls game. And then people were being like, actually, it's more like God of War. And I wanted to have an opinion on this because I couldn't talk about it because I hadn't played it. Well, I didn't know. So I was just taking people at their word. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll find out when I play it what it actually is, because nobody seems to agree on this for some reason. Again, nobody knows how to define genres when it comes to video games for some reason. I'm here to say this game's both, actually. Wow, surprise. Oh, you had people arguing, this is a Souls game. No, this is freaking God of War. What are you talking about, bro? I'd say it's more God of War, though. It is 60 to 70% God of War, 30 to 40% Souls. Basically, the level design kind of takes from Software, except they don't do the shortcut thing at all. It's more linear, which isn't even like God of War in a way. It's almost like old God of War in that way, like old action games where it is pretty linear from start to finish, but then there's kind of open areas, so it's a blend of a bunch of different games in terms of how the levels are designed, but to me it leaves much to be desired because it comes off as though it's doing the From Software thing, but then it's just, you never get like shortcuts. There's nothing interesting about exploring these levels, which was definitely a letdown to me because it makes you think that it is, but then there's oh boy, there's invisible walls everywhere. Even there's just like a freaking rock in the middle of the pathway in front of you. You can't jump over it because there's an invisible pillar over it. There's a lot of technical issues with this game, which is not something that I usually get into when I'm talking about games. I usually kind of don't care, but this one sticks out. There's a boss fight in particular that was very frustrating because it was in the sand area. It was the final boss of the sand area. I don't remember. Chapter 2, I think. It was a pretty cool boss fight. I liked it. But then in one of its final phase or whatever, it would basically look like it was still in the arena that you're fighting in, but it would like pass an invisible wall. So when you ran up to it, you couldn't hit it. It was clearly still visibly in area that you're fighting in. There's just an arbitrary wall. I got killed by that a couple times because I was like, okay, here's an opening. I'm gonna go hit them. And then I'm swinging at literally nothing for some reason. It's just not connecting. And then I die. That was annoying. That leads me to another point with this game, which is that it is a good difficulty, I would say. People complaining that it's too hard, that's wild to me. I don't think that it is at all. Obviously, that can come from a lack of experience with action games, I guess. This game is definitely not as hard as Souls games. I'd say it's pretty similar to God of War outside of the fact that there was some really silly gimmicks in some of these boss fights that I was not a fan of. I like when the game remained within its own rule set a little bit more, and when it kind of goes in the gimmicky direction, it kind of strayed for me. Like a couple of my favorite boss fights were the tiger, and then like later I beat the Rakshasa. I don't even know, was it a girl? I don't remember even. Clad in red armor, very sharp design boss. I beat them in one try and it was very close, but that was probably might be the highlight of the game. That and the tiger, which took me 4 tries, I think. Most of the bosses either took between 1 and 3 tries. There was a couple that took 4 or 5, and then there was one that took like 9, which was, oh my god. Which I don't even know if it was considered like a tough boss. It just like, playing it on PS5 at least, was tanking the frame rate. It would like, I don't even remember much about the boss, but the second form would like form a ring of fire around you. And that would just, the performance definitely took a hit, and it was just so hard to stay focused on what was going on. It was just that was a very frustrating boss fight. So there's definitely inconsistencies in the combat. The exploration is like non-existent and like fake, and I don't like when games do that. But it does feel great to do combos and to like chain together your abilities. I loved a lot of that. I like the customization of your character and the gear, and like the little bit of resource management that you had and like making potions and your items and stuff. All of that stuff, I liked that. Near the end of the game, again, the exploration, to get this open area, that was definitely the worst part of the game for me. Was not a fan at all of what they were doing there. So it's a very inconsistent action game that feels great to play generally, and it is a great first attempt. This is not some Game of the Year candidate. This is not a super special game. It's cool because it's a massive game from China, so that is very cool to see. We've seen games from like South Korea exploding, more traditional games, and now China. Like, it's cool that we're getting these experiences. Oh, and the interstitial animations and stuff were super cool. I love that. Great stuff. So there's a lot to like here. I just think it falls flat in a couple areas. Next up, a game that I know a lot of people really love, and I liked it a lot. That's why it's here. Silent Hill 2. I'd never played any Silent Hill before. I tried playing Silent Hill 2 on my PS3 or something like a decade ago. I don't even know when it was, and I couldn't do it. I have problems going back and playing older games, especially ones that have like tank controls or any sort of camera that just doesn't work the way that cameras do now. I can't do it. So I was very happy to see that people were enjoying this game a lot, because I wanted to play Silent Hill 2, but I just knew I was never going to play the original.
Hey everyone, this is Johnny Waffles here with my 2024 Game of the Year, and that game is Silent Hill 2 Remake by Bloober Team. Now, I have been a fan of Silent Hill 2 for over 20 years. It was the very first PlayStation 2 game I ever played. So to say I'm a fan is kind of an understatement, and I think Silent Hill 2 Remake takes the original and just makes it even better. Like, this game is like, I don't scare easily when it comes to video games or movies or anything. There's one part of this game that actually kind of creeped me out quite a bit, and if you played it, you know exactly the section of the game I'm talking about. This game takes everything from the original that was great and makes it even better visuals, better puzzles. They kind of rework a lot of the puzzles from the original and make it much more interesting and fun to do. It takes boss battles and improves on them. The voice acting, the animations are so much better. The enemies, they've actually included a couple new enemies too. So much better. I only have like 2 minor gripes about this game, and they're so specific. If you're not a huge Silent Hill 2 fan like I am, you probably wouldn't even notice it, right? This game, if you love horror games, if you love third-person horror games, this game is something right up your alley. Definitely check it out. And I know there's this weird stigma about Bloober. They nailed this game. My game of the year, for sure, Silent Hill 2 Remake.
And I love this. It was great. I like how, as I was playing it, I was constantly like in my own head thinking about, was that supposed to make sense? Like, that didn't make sense, right? And it kept making me second guess my own opinions on what was going on, because I didn't know if I was supposed to think that I was like seeing things actually happen, or if I was supposed to think that as the character I was making things up, because I knew this was like a very psychological game. So knowing that almost made it more intense or weird for me, because I was just constantly like, that's impossible, it doesn't make sense. But like in the game, they're acting as though it's normal and does make sense. That constantly happened. So I was always like, what is going on? Even though I kind of understood what was supposed to be going on, it's very confusing. It's not confusing. It is interesting that a game can get that out of you, I guess. I'd also say this is probably the first game on this list where I care about the story or like the narrative or any of the characters, which is not super high priority for me in video games. Obviously, I care most about game feel, gameplay, exploration, stuff like that. But this game, especially by the end, really, it got to me for sure. Didn't cry, but it was borderline. I also streamed the whole thing, which was pretty cool. I think that might have added to it in some way as well, which in a lot of cases, streaming a game will take away from it. A game like this is kind of fun to experience with others watching. The way the game plays is just kind of whatever, but in the case of something like this, it doesn't really take away from it for me, because I'm not going into it looking for that. It's definitely like not as fun and as good as Resident Evil, for instance, but it's good enough that it doesn't dampen the game, I guess. And it's also a game where the puzzles are actually kind of interesting to do for the most part. It wasn't like annoying and tedious feeling. So that's great, because I hate that. I cannot stand tedious puzzles. Back to back, we've got very similar games, actually. Mouthwashing. I'm never gonna play this game again. This is a one and done, and it is very strange. I don't want to spoil anything. It'll make you think, it'll make you uncomfortable, it'll make you feel weird. It's another horror game, and this is one of those games that people point to where, like, for the most part, when somebody's like, this game is art, I'm like, okay, I'm out. That's not what I look to games for. All games are art, obviously. I'm not trying to say that, but like, what, you know, somebody points to something like Journey or like Limbo or Inside. I'm like, I've played those games and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't really care about these. But Mouthwashing is one of those games, I guess. But like, it just works for me. And it was so creepy and weird and messed up, and I highly recommend you play it. It's not like scary, it's just disturbing. You should definitely play it. To finish off the B category, we have another game that plenty of people have overrated and plenty of people have underrated. It's either you hate it or you love it, apparently, even though it's just a solid game. Stellar Blade. Very similar to Black Myth Wukong. Steeped in controversy, steeped in hyperbole, either positive or negative. Yet both of them are just completely solid, great video games that also have problems. Unfortunately for you, if you are looking to me, you want me to be somebody who's going to make it my personality to love or hate Stellar Blade or Black Myth Wukong, you're at the wrong place. I think love would be a little bit too strong to apply to Stellar Blade, but I would say like a lot. Problem is, it has problems, like the fact that all the quests basically shouldn't exist. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing fetch quests? Why are we doing these side quests? This world is not interesting to walk around and to collect and fight meaningless things and then go back to a freaking exclamation point on the map. Why are we doing this in this game? I don't know. This game is bloated. This game is not paced very well. And for that reason, it's kind of frustrating. The game gets better as it goes along because it gets more linear. The linear sections in this game are fantastic because they're not asking you to go off on some random side quest to collect something and then come back to a post about it. That does not fit the game whatsoever, and I don't understand why it's here. All that does is take you away from the fighting, which is what is so great about this game. This game feels fantastic to play. I love the combat system. I love how stylish it is. I love how fluid it is. It's one of those games that doesn't have like, it's not like From Software or something. Again, this game gets wrapped up in the freaking Souls-like conversation for some reason because it has some similar aspects. This game is not a Souls-like. It is Souls-like in some ways, but it is not a Souls-like. I made a video about that exact terminology, by the way. Go back like a year ago. You can go watch that. But yeah, the parrying is fun, the dodging is fun, the swinging your weapon is fun. It's more fast-paced than something like a From Software game. It's more akin to something like Sekiro, or the DMC, or the older God of War games, Bayonetta. It's like a mixture of all of these things, but it creates its own unique identity at the same time. It's also got a lot of like flash and flair to it, which adds to it. Almost kind of reminds me of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, actually, in that way. The music is also fantastic, which was kind of a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting that from this. I should also point out that I'm not a fan of Nier Automata. I really did not like that game at all. Again, because of the way that it felt to play. It felt like it was too loose and no impact, blah, 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 all that. I'm just going to keep saying blah, blah, blah now. You know what I'm going to say. But Stellar Blade is not that. It feels amazing. As it goes on, it gets a little bit more linear. There's more boss fights. There's more. The pacing is corrected. So I hope if they do a sequel, I'm hoping they constrain it more, because that's what this game fails at, is that it's just bloated with too many semi-open areas that are not interesting, side quests that shouldn't even be in the game whatsoever. Just stick to a quick pace and fight, fight, fight. And honestly, that's something Black Myth Wukong also could do. These games have similar problems, where they're just packing in random extraneous shit that just makes the game worse. Just because the game is like 10 hours longer because of it, that's not a good thing. We need to stop focusing on game length, because it just dampens the rest of the game. Otherwise, I love this game. Very fun. Very fun. And now that we've made it to A tier, for the most part, I'm not really going to have anything negative to say. A tier. Amazing games that should be celebrated, but in this year they aren't quite the greatest. Let's get into it. Though, the first one on this list, like I said earlier, there's an anomaly. I only played like 5 hours of this game. I can explain. It's 9 Souls. I played 5 hours of this game back in like October. I was intending to keep playing it. I was really enjoying it, but then some things happened. I didn't play it for a couple weeks. I tried to play it again for like an hour, and I was like, oh, this is kind of hard to get back into. And then I kept putting it off, and then it had been like a couple months, and I was like, I can't just jump back into it, and I don't want to replay like 6 or 7 hours of this right now. At some point in the future, I will get back to this game. I don't like restarting a game so close to the point in which I played it in the first place. So I kind of had to put it aside. But this game's very special and has gone extremely overlooked, unfortunately. So I wanted to give it the props that I think that it deserves. Though there is like one major issue with this game as well. Way too much dialogue, and the pacing gets like slammed over and over again by stopping and having like minutes long cutscenes of just talking about stuff. And it's like, there's way too much of that. Way too much of that. And I think that continues for the rest of the game from what I've heard from other people. So I'm not actually confident that if I had completed this game that it would be where it is. I'm kind of just guessing. This is an anomaly on this list. You could maybe just completely ignore this, but I wanted to make sure that it was on here. And I think that this is probably where it belongs. Would I end up probably skipping a bunch of the dialogue in this game? Probably. The problem with that in a Metroidvania is that would probably lead to me not knowing where I was supposed to be going, because they probably just told me. We were probably just talking about it, so you can't really do that. But like, there's just too much talking. Otherwise, this game is basically Hollow Knight and Sekiro combined, and it plays incredibly well. The combat is amazing. I love the way that you parry. I love the way that you can jump and dodge and swing your sword, and like a couple of the abilities you get are really cool. Absolutely look into this if you like From Software, if you like Hollow Knight. If you like other Metroidvanias that are a little bit more difficult, this is absolutely something you need to look into. And I do intend to get back to it at some point. Just a reminder, I did beat all of these games back all the way from C tier and B tier and everything else following this, just to clarify. So what do we have next? Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, another Metroidvania, and it is very good at so many things. This is a game where they kind of just do all the little things right, and that's very important. Quality of life is very important in video games, to me at least. That is what keeps me from going back to older games, and what keeps me engaged with newer ones is that they do all the little things right and make it not frustrating to play. Whether that be the organization of the menus, the way that you can like get around the world, seamless transitions between areas, and how you can use your abilities, the pace at which you earn them. I also really appreciate the way that the map works, and you can like take pictures of areas if you're somewhere and then place it as a pin on the map, so that then when you're not there, you can look at the map and be like, what was it that was there that I was interested in? And it's not just a pin, you click on it and it's a screenshot of that area and you're like, oh right, that was that thing. I think I can do that now. Let me go back there. Love that. That's something that absolutely needs to be in every Metroidvania. And it's not just the little things. I think that the combat in this game feels fantastic. Honestly, I kept saying this, but the prince feels like he was ripped straight out of Super Smash Bros. It feels like you're playing Smash when you play this game. That's how good it feels, and that's how familiar it is. Like, you have like down airs and up airs and neutral airs, special moves. There's like a side special move and a down. You have a down, like a plunging attack. Obviously, you have like a double jump. Also like dodging. Feels like you could just take him out of this game and put him directly into Smash, and he would fit right in. And I love that in platforming action games. You could say something similar about something like Hollow Knight, of course, but I think it's even more true here. And I love the way that all this stuff is animated. Again, kind of going back to Marvel Rivals and what I loved about that art style, this game has that. It has the colorful bursts around you when you do things. Like when you dash, there's lines behind you that are colorful. When you swing your weapons, everything's just like blue and purple everywhere. I love that. That's some of the visual feedback that I look for when I'm playing a game that just makes it more interesting and fun to do things. But on top of that, it feels great when you hit things. You feel the impact, which, like I keep saying, that's very important to me. And this game is very good at that. Also, a lot of the platforming gets pretty difficult, which is something I appreciate. I love when a Metroidvania doesn't focus too hard on just combat or exploration and mobility. It's kind of a blend of both things, and it does both very well, and it escalates both very well. This is why I like Guacamelee so much. Hollow Knight also does this. You should play it if you like Metroidvanias. 100%. The next game on this list is one that not only did I think I wasn't going to play, I thought that if I did, I was pretty certain that I would actively dislike it, but I decided to give it a try anyways. And that is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. What? I've never watched an Indiana Jones movie. I've never watched a lot of movies, first of all. You don't need to comment about that fact. That's not an interesting fact anymore. So I don't care about the character. I don't care about the story going into this. I don't care about how this game represents the character. That has nothing to do with anything that I care about here. But oh boy, they made a really interesting and unique game. Machine Games. What's going on here? Also, I'm not a fan of Machine Games. I've tried the Wolfenstein game that they made, and I didn't think that it played very well. Again, same thing. Felt floaty and off to me. I kind of want to go back and try it again now, though, because I loved Indiana Jones. So now I'm like, wait a minute. Am I wrong about Machine Games? I think I might be. Anyways, I thought when this game was revealed that it was clear that they were going to go the Uncharted route and try to make an action adventure story-based game similar to Uncharted. Clearly, that is not the direction they took. They went more in the immersive sim direction. It's not quite an immersive sim, but it's more in line with something like Prey or Deus Ex, where you're kind of just exploring these levels and you have the opportunity to fight your way in and out of situations, or stealth your way in and out of situations, or find other items that might let you interact with the world in different ways, or you can find like use mobility options to like literally climb your way around objects. And I love when games, again, reward curiosity and exploration. This game is great at that. It gets better over the course of the game. You start off in the Vatican. I'm glad I stuck with it because the Vatican is the least interesting area to me, and I think that it gets better as you explore more of the world. There's like, I don't know, like 4-ish main areas that you go to, and the other ones are more of a playground and they're more interesting, especially the last 2. And it's not only that, the exploration is done super well. The curiosity rewarding is done super well. The way that you feel accomplished when you do things, because the game is not just telling you what to do. It's just kind of like, you kind of got to go do this, do whatever you want to make that happen. And I love that. That is one of my favorite aspects about video games. Again, relating this back to the most recent Zelda games, they're very good at this. And that's kind of just a staple of immersive sims in general. And on top of this, you have what was actually a really great story, again, and characters specifically, especially the villain Voss. You know, people have said this ad nauseum, but like, he's a great villain and he really like commands your attention when he's on screen. Again, you probably know that I don't super care about the narrative and the story of games all the time. It's not super high on my list of priority, but when a game is this good at it, it does stand out and it does elevate the game for me. Troy Baker as Indiana Jones is fantastic. Again, coming from somebody who knows nothing about Indiana Jones, I'm not like comparing them. I know that people have and said that he is good as Indiana Jones. Like, he does a good job as that. Even as an outsider who doesn't care about that part, I just think it's a great character generally. That was pretty cool, because I wasn't expecting any of this. I was expecting it to be a failed attempt at copying Naughty Dog. Some aspects are like Naughty Dog-esque, obviously the cinematic nature of it in general. There's some parts that feel Uncharted-like, but also Uncharted in the first place was taken from Indiana Jones clearly, so it's like a little bit of a back and forth, especially when it comes like the banter of Indiana Jones and Voss. Like, that feels very Naughty Dog, but obviously Naughty Dog felt very Indiana Jones clearly, but I didn't know that. I still don't know that, I guess. Anyways, I really think this game is quite good, and it's not the type of game that I would normally like because it doesn't like play super well. It is a little bit old feeling in the way that it plays. Like, the gunplay is not great. The whip play is not that great. Like, the hand-to-hand combat that does feel pretty good. It is fun to just punch dudes in the face. There's a lot of feedback there. It's pretty funny, actually. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned that, like, probably my favorite aspect of the game is just how you'll kind of try to do something and then you will run around the map and just come across various objects. If you get into, like, you fail stealth and then all of a sudden all these Nazis are coming after you. So then you're like just picking up frying pans and brooms and stuff and throwing them at people and like bashing them over the head with it. It's just hilarious. It's very dynamic in that way. You never really know what situation you're going to get into or how you're going to get out of it. You just kind of have to make things up on the fly. And again, that improvisation is the highlight of the game. Next up, we have Black Ops 6, which you would have asked me before this year, whatever, would I buy the next Call of Duty?
No, I don't think so.
I've been mostly out of the series lately. I used to be very into it, and then I was kind of iffy and just kind of go in and out of it, but I've been pretty out of it. But I decided to buy it because there was some hype surrounding it when it came out, and I fell for it, but it was a good thing because it was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed my time with it, played it for a couple months, which is more time than I spend with most video games, so that is a win for me. Some people are gonna be like, you didn't play it for a whole year or 5 years? Wow, what a ripoff. That game must be shit. Like, no, I don't, that's not how I engage with games. Me playing a game for a couple months is like high praise. Because I usually will play something for a couple weeks, be done with it, move on. I really enjoyed playing Search and Destroy. That's all I really care about in Call of Duty. Multiplayer otherwise in this game was chaotic and kind of dumb, but it is in every Call of Duty to me, so there's nothing to do with this game. I love Search and Destroy, that's all I care about, and I had a lot of fun playing it. Shotguns in this game, well, one shotgun in this game felt great. Once I finally got used to it and like got the right attachments on it, I had a good time. I liked the maps for the most part. A couple of them way too small and like just ridiculous, but otherwise I liked the maps. And as always, Call of Duty just feels fantastic to play. It's one of the best shooters out there. It's like undeniable.
My game of the year for 2024 is a bit more of an unconventional, lesser known pick, but it speaks near and dear to my heart. It's Sker Ritual, S-K-E-R Ritual, and if you like Black Ops Zombies like I do, because I enjoy the crap out of it, this is the game for you. It's got a lot of the same features. Kill zombies, get points, buy guns, upgrade guns, all that good jazz.
Hey, yo.
I almost said a bad word.
Okay.
But no, the main difference is that you have these elemental skill trees that upgrade as the game goes on, and you become much more powerful. And I really like the way that it's integrated into the system. So it's a good take on zombies, and I just really appreciate that sometimes. So Game of the Year, Sker Ritual 2024. That's my pick.
I played zombies for a little bit, and for a little bit, I mean, I played one round of it. I don't remember what round I got to, 30 or something. And it was fun, but like I didn't want to keep playing it. I used to really like zombies, but I liked it more when it was simple and wasn't all about Easter eggs and like now we just nothing but power-ups and like just perks and just insane what is going on in zombies at this point. Search and Destroy, loved it. That's all that I can really ask for. So most fun I've had playing Call of Duty since, I would say Black Ops 3, but maybe even before that, which would be like Black Ops 1. Like this is either my 4th or 5th favorite Call of Duty, I'd say. Good stuff. Next up, Persona 3 Reload. Fantastic remake of a fantastic game. Not a lot to say here. Persona is wonderful. I'm glad they made this. I hope they do it with Persona 4 because Persona 4 is the best, and I would love to replay it in a little bit more of a modernized version. Bring it up to the bar where 5 and now 3 are at. There's not a whole lot to say here. Technically, this is a very old game. If you like Persona, you know what I'm talking about. This one, at least for 3, 4, and 5, they're all fantastic. You're not going to go wrong. This one's a little bit darker, and it's also a little bit shorter. So I think it's a good spot to jump into the franchise if you haven't tried it, because otherwise, 4 and 5, especially 5 Royal, which I haven't even played, you're going to be adding like 30, 40, 50 hours onto how long this game is, so which is still like 60 hours. I mean, it's not a short game. I mean, it goes without saying, I love the Persona soundtracks. I think Persona has like the best art style of any video game, and that goes for Metaphor as well, which I haven't said that yet. I wonder where it is on the list. I don't know if that made it seem like it was about to be next on the list, but it's not. Next is Another Crab's Treasure. This game is so cute. It is very charming, but it's also like vicious because it is a Souls-like. Actually a Souls-like. It is literally trying to be a Souls game, and it is. And I love it for that.
This game also has a lot of accessibility options in the menu that allow people to play the game that maybe don't want something so difficult. I actually used one myself, which was to turn off the part where you drop all of your currency when you die and then have to go back to get it. It just felt like to me that it didn't fit in this game and I didn't want to do it. I removed that aspect of the game and I actually loved it. Even though I liked that aspect in Souls games, I just didn't want to deal with it here, and it made the game more enjoyable for me. There's plenty of other options as well that can significantly lower the game's difficulty. If Souls games scare you off, I actually think this is a great place to start because of that.
The combat feels great. You have a lot of customization options to make it a little quicker or make it a little slower, make it a little bit more impactful with heavy weapon or fast and fluid with a lighter weapon. You can customize your shell for defense and like different ways to dodge and different ways to parry things. I love the exploration here. It is so good at exploration. I love the size of the areas that it gives you to explore. Absolutely fantastic. It does a great job of like giving you landmarks or sea marks, I guess, that you will like go up on a tower and look around and be like, oh, I wonder what's over there. Can I get over there? How do I get over there? Let me try to do that. Should I go there now? Should I remember that? Keep it in mind for later because I don't want to do that yet, but I need to remember that I want to go there. I love that when I'm playing a game and there's so many ways that I want to go, but then you have to like prioritize your exploration in your head and decide the order in which you're going to do things. That's one of my favorite things in games, and this game is very good at that. It's constantly making you curious, but also not giving you too many options that you feel overwhelmed. And I think it has a great balance of that. The level design in this game is top notch. It's also full of plenty of From Software like shortcuts, which I think it pulls off very well. They're not like forced, like, I don't know, like the original Lords of the Fallen tried to do. Like sometimes it's like, okay, you're literally gonna make me go in a circle here just to get a super basic door to go back to where I was. Like it's kind of boring. No, it's actually like good level design, which is something I can very much so appreciate in games. Also, it's kind of like SpongeBob-ish in terms of the tone. It can get very serious, but also it's also very funny and cute. It's kind of like it'll give you every emotion, really, and I love it for that too. It's not afraid to like be political when it comes to like the impact of things on the environment and stuff, which is pretty cool to see because it plays it serious, but at the same time it's a very lighthearted romp. It goes back and forth. It could throw you off. You might get a little whiplash, but it feels good. And I swear I did not do this transition on purpose, this segue, if you will. Speaking of whiplash, oh my god, Whiplash, the video game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. In some ways, one of the best video games I've ever played. In other ways, what were they thinking? Hold up, I gotta interrupt myself real quick here. The following scene is probably the hardest I've ever laughed when just sitting on my couch playing a game by myself. I legitimately laughed for like an actual minute straight after this. I don't exactly know why. Going back, I don't think it's that funny, but in the moment, it really just caught me off guard.
Hello? Aren't you all forgetting about someone? And action! Some know me as the world's greatest materia hunter. Others, an unstoppable assassin. And the rest, a benevolent and beautiful ninja. But who am I truly? Who ties what rose? The one and only Yuffie!
Cool.
Game of the year 2024 is an easy one for me. Astrobot almost got there, but it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with a bullet. Not only my favorite game of 2024, but probably my favorite game of the decade and one of my top 5 games of all time. I say often that I hope that everyone's favorite franchise gets the treatment that I'm getting with Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, for so far, is the pinnacle of that. I am absolutely obsessed with it. Soundtrack, banger. Gameplay, banger. Story, 10 out of 10. Twists and turns despite being a remake. I cannot recommend it enough. 10 out of 10. No notes. More Tifa, please. 1 note.
Super AAA. Fantastic in that regard. Looks beautiful, runs beautifully. The performances are great. The quality of life features with the way that the combat and the menus work. Love it. Why is this game so big and long and full of things that I don't want to do? Oh my god, stop making me do all these things. And it's not even making me. That's going to be the argument. Somebody's going to be like, you don't have to do all of it. You don't have to do all of the side quests. Just don't do them. No, that's not how this works. When you offer me this many things to do, and some of them are really great and fun, but then some of them are just complete ass. I can't know ahead of time which ones are worth doing when they're all mixed together. Some of them are just completely stupid side quests that have nothing to do with anything. They don't give you any rewarding character or story bits, or even like interesting items. And it's literally just you walking around collecting things or doing something meaningless and boring. But those are mixed in with things where it does heavily involve a character and gives you interesting information, or is a fun little side quest mini game to do. It's very difficult to tell these things apart, and I don't want to miss the good parts, so I'm gonna do all of it, but that involves doing a bunch of dumb shit that I don't want to do. And all this is mixed in a bunch of open areas that are mostly not that fun to explore because, like, you're walking around, you're too slow. If you're on the chocobo, controlling the chocobos is not great. It's cool that you get different versions of them depending on what area you're in, but they really don't feel that great to control. It's hard to like stop them in place. You gotta like collect things out of the ground with them sometimes, but you can't easily stop where you want to stop, so you're constantly having to overcorrect yourself. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Anyways, that's some of the nitpicks. I love this video game. The story is incredible. I love the way the characters are portrayed. I love all their interactions. I've not even played the original Final Fantasy VII, again, because I can't go back to it because it's too old. I can't do it. Don't comment about this. I'm not listening. I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. I tried Final Fantasy VII, the original, 5 years ago or so, and I was like, nope. I played Remake, though. It's good. Too linear, but now this game's not linear enough. The linear parts in this game are the better parts. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. just a little bit of a better balance, smaller open areas or something, more interesting things to do in them, better landmarking, less menial tasks. But like, I love the overall narrative and the characters and the dialogue and the music, obviously, and Queen's Blood is amazing. Then the combat system is so good. I don't know why I haven't said this yet. I'm talking so much that I'm just like hiccuping and losing my voice and my breath. I've been recording for an hour and 40 minutes straight.
Hey guys, it's Sushi Drew. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. What was my favorite 2024 game of the year? And that would be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I mean, I could talk forever about the game because the story, music, combat, characters, the world, everything about it just like, it hit every single emotion that I had. You know, I mean, first of all, the story, they took a legendary narrative of the classic Final Fantasy VII and expanded in many ways that blew my mind. They shaped a lot of the characters, the emotional depth, the character interactions. It felt very familiar, but also completely new at the same time. They fleshed out a lot of the characters. I know the game wasn't perfect. The overworld, a little bit too massive. They borrowed a lot of mechanics from Ubisoft games, overworld Ubisoft games, and I know a lot of people wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't either, but you know, the game doesn't have to be perfect to be my game of the year. I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII fan. I mean, we could talk about the combat, right? Rebirth refined what Remake already had in terms of combat, the mix between active time battle versus and action, and they just made it even better. They, you know, switching the characters was a lot of fun, being able to chain abilities, the list goes on. Like it was so much fun to play. What really sealed me in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was the music. They took Nobuo Uematsu's like masterpiece of a score and leveled that up, and it was a love letter to fans and a real bold imagining of the classic. It is proof that Square Enix is still at the top of the game. Seriously, like what a magical game that was. And I hope for those who haven't played any Final Fantasy game in their life, you should definitely check this one out because this was a magical game from start to finish. The ending is a little controversial, but that's a different topic. But anyways, back to you, D-Guns.
The combat system in this game is incredible. I feel like it's very hard for other studios to do, probably because of what it requires, and it's just so high budget. The game is just oozing money, but it's like, yeah, but when you do that, look at this. But look how good this feels, it looks at the same time. Pretty cool. But it's also unreasonable, clearly. I love it, but I don't have to put it in S tier because of the severe problems that this game has in terms of its pacing and just the amount of dumb things that are in it that I do not want to do but feel compelled to do. Anyways, let's move on. Shogun Showdown. Apparently this game is like, is it Into the Breach or Enter the Breach? I think it's Into the Breach, right? I haven't played it. And Slay the Spire, or a card building deck like. Yeah, that's what they call it, right? My mind is starting to deteriorate here. Deck building roguelike, but it's not really a deck. You kind of have these, like, I guess you could call them cards. I wouldn't necessarily, but there are similarities to Slay the Spire. You have relics, you're taking turns, you versus the enemies. You can upgrade aspects, you can have items and potions and stuff. You're progressing along a map that is similar to Slay the Spire. You're choosing your path. It's a roguelike, you're learning new abilities in between runs and then making it easier, and also as you beat the game, you keep beating the game on a higher difficulty. It's got a lot of similarities. It doesn't really play like it in the format of how the actual game works, because it really doesn't feel card game-like. But I love the combat system in this game. It's very satisfying to pull off. Basically, you're moving along these blocks, and the enemy also is, and everything you do takes up a turn, and then the enemy goes. It's almost like a rhythm game in a weird way, even though it's turn-based and you're not following a rhythm, but it's like, you go, I go, you go, I go. And as you get better at the game and realize what's going on, you can play it faster with the same result. But obviously, most of the time, you need to be taking your time because there's a lot of thinking involved in this game, but it's very rewarding. And I highly encourage anybody who does like deck builders or turn-based games like this to try this one out, because it can be quite addicting and it's very fun to progress through the difficulty levels, similar to ascending in Slay the Spire, which is one of the best parts of that game. And let's get some more card games in here. Balatro. Oh my god, I love Balatro. It's so good. Whenever someone's like, what's a game like Slay the Spire that I should play? This is the first one that I mentioned now. Also, you don't need to be a fan of poker to play this, or even understand poker. I don't play poker. I barely knew anything about it. You'll learn the poker hands in minutes. It has nothing to do with this game, realistically. The point of this game is to play cards and have unique interactions with jokers that affect your cards and your deck in various ways. You're constantly customizing your deck, you're doing runs, you're playing with different decks. Very satisfying game to ascend through difficulty levels of. This one really gets your brain going. The music, phenomenal. It'll get stuck in your head for sure, even though there's like one song. Is there only one song? I don't know. It might be. It seems like it, but it's so relaxing. I love it.
Who's editing this, you?
Here are 2 bananas in my hand. Would you like to see me eat them?
Did you see me eat the banana?
Anyways, play Balatro. Even if you don't like poker, even if you don't like card games, I think this might get you into it. I'm gonna get some water in me before I start. S tier. Oh boy. What games do we have left again? Oh, right. S tier. Congratulations on getting here. Your super stylish and smooth silky studs. Oh. There's only 4 games left. Earlier in the year, I put out a video talking about a certain game. Like, you know what? This game's my game of the year so far. Didn't quite hold that position, but it is in S tier. That would be Concord. So these 4 games in S tier, I would say, are the games that I feel like are, if not the pinnacle of their genre, one of the pinnacles of their genres. And Concord is absolutely that. In terms of the way that it handles, the way that the characters feel to play, the diversity of the different kinds of types of characters and how they all work together and against each other, but somehow all still feel good to play as. Unbelievable. The complete opposite of Marvel Rivals, where everything feels the same, and by the same, I mean they all feel like you're literally a piece of cardboard maneuvering around a map and hitting other pieces of cardboard that don't react at all to what you're doing. Concord, you feel the impact of every shot, of every swing of a melee weapon, of every dodge, the way that the camera moves away from you as you're dodging so that you can really like see and feel the way that your character's moving. I love it. There's so much heft behind everything that you do, but also the game is extremely fluid at the same time. This is something that is very difficult to pull off because most games are incapable of doing this. Only the best video games can pull off weight and fluidity at the same time. It's nearly impossible. And when it happens, I give praise and praise and praise because I'm like, yes, you understand. This is why I love From Software so much. This is why I love God of War so much. Even something like Monster Hunter, even though it's a bit stiff, it's almost there. Something like Astrobot,
Or like a Mario platformer.
Super Smash Brothers, games that understand that you need to be fluid as you're moving around, but also distinctly feel the impact of every single action that you take, whether it's a jump, a dash, a gunfire, a swing of a melee weapon, a kick, whatever you're doing, you need to see and feel the impact. But also, you don't want it to be too slow or heavy that it's not fun to like chain these things together. I have something else that I want to add here that I've realized over time. I kind of touched on this when the game was out and in beta even, but I feel more strongly about it now. I think that this game launching on PC contributed to its death because I don't think this game suits a mouse and keyboard. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that only use mouse and keyboard, especially for shooters, and they swear by it. And you know what? That's fair. The mouse specifically makes complete sense to me, and I've never really argued against that. Playing with a keyboard, though, I mean, I think that that's just insanity, frankly. Which I know I'm probably in the minority here, at least when it comes to shooters. But I think that this had a lot to do with why this game struggled to catch on, because to me, Concord is very clearly a console game, a controller game. It's not just a shooter, it's also an action game. It feels like they infused the likes of something like Doom or Control or Infamous or Horizon or God of War or Returnal into a shooter. To me, this game is a character action first-person shooter. I would never call this a hero shooter because it feels so much better than any other hero shooter that I've played. There is such a distinct difference between this and something like Overwatch or Valorant or Marvel Rivals, or in a different direction, comparing it to something like Counter-Strike. These games feel more like keyboard and mouse games to me because they lack impact. It doesn't matter. You don't feel the impact of things when you're using a keyboard, in my opinion. Which is why I think that this argument gets lost on people a lot of the time, and people find it hard to understand what I'm talking about. I've realized over the past year that I think a lot of this comes down to a difference in the way that people interface with games. A lot of my enjoyment of games and the way that I describe the way that games feel is because I'm holding a controller. It's just more tactile, in my opinion. And I think that Concord is like a prime embodiment of this, because the controller does a lot of the heavy lifting. It really binds me to the characters in game and make me feel as though I am in full control of them. And if I were using a keyboard, I wouldn't feel that. It comes down to the fluidity of the very intricate movements you can make when using a stick to move that you do not get when you're using keys on a keyboard. Same goes for like rumble. That adds to the tactile nature and the impact, that word that I keep using, that is harder to translate through keys. Anyways, I just wanted to point this out because I found it interesting, because generally I've been on board this entire time. Like, yeah, obviously, especially if it's a multiplayer game, especially if it's a shooter, you want to be on PC as well. It just makes sense. You want to reach a wider audience. But I think specifically in the case of Concord, it was a detriment to the success of this game, because I think that the overwhelming, insane negativity came from PC players. And no, I'm not saying that the game would have succeeded if it didn't launch on PC. I just think that there's more of a chance that it could have if it didn't. Concord did all this very, very well, and especially once you got into the perk system and how that worked, you could speed up the game for yourself very quickly. I loved how this worked, where basically you were switching between classes to power up the rest of your characters as you progress through a match. It made it so that the matches were constantly evolving from the beginning to the end of the match. Everybody was getting faster, stronger, more easily able to maneuver, healthier, whatever it may be. There was various perks. So everyone's literally getting better as they're playing, and it escalates very quickly. And it makes it so that the matches feel more dynamic in the way that you're constantly playing against different characters within the match. What's not fun to me is you join a game, a hero shooter, which generally, like across the board, I don't like that genre. You join a game and it's always the same characters, and you're always playing against the same characters, and not only that, within each match you're playing against the same characters the whole time because somebody has a main that they just refuse to not use. That's not fun. I thought that I liked that, but this game made me realize that I don't like that. And it's actually way more interesting when you force somebody to use more than one thing. I was actually just thinking about this. I was playing Mario Kart the other day, and I was like, damn, I wish that every race you had to pick a different character, or everyone had to use a different character, or a different kart combination, or if you're playing Super Smash Brothers, every fight you had to use a different character. It'd be so much more interesting if you had to master more than one thing. Or if you're playing a shooter and everyone on the other team is using the same gun because it's the best gun. To me, that ruins multiplayer games, and I wish that there was ways around it. Which there is, because I know that in a lot of shooters where there are characters or heroes that you're choosing, you can't use the same thing as your teammates and stuff, which is great. That's a step in that direction. But I think you take another step in that direction and make people keep switching, and it makes it even more dynamic and interesting. It really doesn't allow it to get boring because people are constantly having to use so many different combinations. I love that. The maps were fantastic. I love how they felt like playgrounds where you to like jump around, get so many different vantage points. Very mobile game, very vertical game, which is great. You don't feel glued to the ground, which again was why like most other shooters are just not interesting to me. I don't really, the only negative thing I have to say about this game, do not like the character designs almost across the board. So what? Like, that is so far down on my list of things to talk about with this game because everything else is so good that like, who cares? Not me. Apparently everyone, though, unfortunately. The game's gone, the studio's gone, and the unfolding of the narrative and what happened afterwards with this game is the biggest and stupidest mistake in video game history. And I hope it doesn't keep happening, but it kind of seems like it has set a trend of studios closing, having one issue, one thing not work, and studios just being like, well, fuck you, get out of here. You didn't turn into Fortnite, so
Bye.
Very annoying. People are very wrong about this game, and people are very wrong about Marvel Rivals, dude. Most people are gonna have these things flipped on this tier list, and it just couldn't be more incorrect. Concord is top 3 shooter of all time. I would put it with Rainbow Six Siege, and my biased nostalgic pick of Call of Duty World at War. That one's just personal for me. Because it's kind of what got me into like really playing shooters. But I do also think it's fantastic, but it also had a lot of problems. That MP40 was everywhere. Like, what are we doing? Stop. Again, everyone's using the same gun. Come on. You could also put like Battlefield 1 up there. Real good stuff. Killzone 3. Multiple other older Call of Duties like Black Ops 1, Call of Duty 4. It's good stuff. More recently, the finals, but it's free to play, so that kind of sucks. Anyways, let's move on. Top 3. Metaphor ReFantazio. What a incredible game. Coming from Atlas, coming from Persona people, we got freaking amazing art style. We got some amazing music. We've got some wonderful writing and dialogue and characterization. I love almost all the characters in this game, which is rare for me, because usually when you have an ensemble cast, I'll get attached to like 1 or 2 characters, and then the other ones I'm just like, yeah, whatever. In this game, it's kind of the opposite, where I'm attached to most of them, and there's a couple that I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's unusual. Luis is a great villain. He really demands your attention when he's on screen. He kind of makes a good point sometimes, and then you're kind of like going along with it, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. No, actually you're insane, because then he keeps just consistently crossing lines with basically everything that he says. I love when villains can do that. I think this year's a great year for villains between Luis and Voss in Indiana Jones, and also Sephiroth in Rebirth. Like I said, I like most of the characters in this game. I think that starting off with Stroll and then Heisenberg and then Heisme is a crazy first 3 characters to add to your team. There's also a couple others later in the game that I really like, but I don't really want to get into it because of spoilers. But I do want to shout out Stroll specifically. He's not my favorite character, but he's the one that surprised me the most. Probably because if you think back to the Persona games, you have as your first teammate, your main partner, you got Junpei, you got Yosuke, and you got Ryuji. And basically, they always follow the trope of it just being like this silly guy that's cracking jokes and is not really that funny and is kind of annoying. And I assumed that was going to be the case here, but because this game generally plays things more seriously, Stroll ended up actually being a really great character, and at some points I was confused, and I was like, wait a minute, is Stroll the main character? Because he like really has main character energy and kind of takes over certain scenes, and it's pretty interesting. And I really appreciated that he was not this unfunny first partner. So that was pretty cool. I loved what they did with the combat system. I love that you can fight things in the overworld and kind of make it easier for yourself and stop some of the pointless grinding. And I also just love how the combat system works as an evolution of the way that Persona does things. I love the archetype system. I love how you can basically mix and match your classes, and that makes it so that you can kind of turn any character into whatever kind of archetype that you want, but it also tries to kind of push you in a certain direction by the end with like these ultimate archetypes, which I ended up using for the most part, but there was one character I didn't because I didn't want him to be that. So you don't have to go that route. You can do whatever you want, and it's fun to experiment with it as the game goes along. There was a lot of characters that I thought I wanted to be a certain way that I changed them halfway through, and that was not a problem whatsoever. There's really not much that I can say negatively about this game. This is exactly what I want a JRPG to be like, and I'm super excited to see where this studio and like Persona Studio, where they go next, because they haven't really missed in a long time. Now we're on to top 2. Realistically, I could move most of these top 4 around in whatever order, and it would be perfectly acceptable in my opinion. But specifically these top 2 I think are like just the tiniest bit above number 3 and 4. I don't even know if I agree with the order that I'm putting these next 2 in, but there's kind of an outlying reason for the way that I put them in this order, which is going to make sense real quick. When I tell you that number 2 for me is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, that's because it's DLC. It's not really its own full complete game, even though it should be and could be based on how large it is, how much there is to do in it compared to the game itself. They absolutely could have just called this Elden Ring 2, and I would have deemed that perfectly acceptable. That would have been totally normal like a decade ago. Now it's not, which is unfortunate. I wish that we got more sequels at a faster pace like this. But people would have freaked out and been like, this isn't as big as Elder. You didn't make it bigger, so this can't be 2. Like, blah, 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 whatever. People are annoying in that regard. This absolutely could be Elden Ring 2. And I kind of, in my own head, that's what I kind of think of it as.
I've been sitting here, like, thinking about this for like 20 minutes. And I didn't really play a lot of games in 2024, but if I had to pick one, definitely Shadow of the Erdtree, Elden Ring. That game is, I know it's a DLC, but the vast expansiveness of the DLC is huge. It opened up a lot of new bosses. Curfew Bale, Radon refight is difficult. And a little bit of a shout out to Super Mario Party Jamboree. That was a close second. I know it came out kind of late in the year, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it deserves an honorable mention.
I love everything about this except the final boss. Oh my god, they definitely went too hard on the difficulty level with that. What are the let's calm down. Let's calm down. You don't need to do that. Otherwise, there's not much to say here that that hasn't already been said about Elden Ring. From Software, best developer in the business. They understand every aspect of video games and what makes them great. It's all about how you interact with the world around you, how you can affect things, how it rewards your curiosity, how it rewards your patience and your development of your own skills at the game. Specifically, this game, in particular, even compared to Elden Ring, insanely good level design, or world design, I guess you should say, where it kind of harkens back a little bit to Dark Souls 1 and what makes that game so special in the first place, where everything's like interconnected and it feels like you're truly exploring a world. Somehow they did that at this scale, which is insane. The amount of times you'll go somewhere and then kind of get lost and not realize what direction you're even going anymore, and then all of a sudden you end up in an area and you're like, wait a minute, I saw this from over there. I'm here? What? How did that happen? That happens multiple times in Shadow of the Erdtree, and I love that. So they kind of used this DLC as a way to like merge basically Dark Souls 1 and Elden Ring, which to me are the two pinnacles of From Software, aka the pinnacles of the entire video game industry. They managed to bring back that feeling of exploration that Dark Souls 1 had. You go into an area and you're unsure where it might lead, and then after an hour of being coaxed along a path, you suddenly realize you're overlooking somewhere you previously were. Or perhaps now, you've reached that one place that you were looking at beneath your feet. It seemed impossible to reach, but you're there now. This feeling is something that basically no other video game has ever really truly pulled off. Elden Ring itself strayed a bit from this philosophy, and it was a slight detriment to the game, in my eyes. But I didn't really miss it because the rest of the game was so overwhelmingly good. But looking back, I realized the scope of the game was definitely too large. I mean, I noticed that at the time, but I was willing to like overlook it, I guess. The sheer verticality in Shadow of the Erdtree is wild. The dungeons are great to explore. When you're in them, they create their own little world that folds in on itself. I honestly don't think that exploration has ever been done better in any game. In regards to the, whatever they're called, Shadow Tree fragments, the way this game handles difficulty is honestly pretty great. Again, it's kind of proof that it should have just been a standalone game. It almost was like a band-aid to a self-created problem, but at the same time, it ended up being one of the better parts of this game. I think that it not only encourages you to fight things to earn your levels, which is normal, but it also lets you gain levels just by exploring things and finding these fragments. So you're not only getting stuff by fighting, you're also getting levels by exploring. I love that. And it feels better than just like finding a rune or a soul item that gives you like 10,000 souls or whatever. These feel more important. And they can't be used to like buy items. It's strictly for leveling up, so it feels like you're gaining more progression than usual. They kind of just used these as a way to reset everyone to level 1 when they enter the DLC, but honestly, after playing through it, I appreciated them a lot, and I kind of hope that moving forward they do something similar where you can earn levels not just by killing things. I was already on the fence about claiming that Elden Ring is the best game ever made. Not necessarily that it's my favorite, but I kind of think that it's the best game ever made. And now with this, technically because it's part of Elden Ring, you shove this into that game and I kind of feel like it's undeniable. So this DLC kind of represents like, this is the best thing that can come out of video games. But I have it at number 2, only because it's technically not its own game, which I wish that it was, because it would be number 1. Which, of course, means that number 1 is Astrobot, which, I mean, also well-deserved.
Well, let me just start by saying that making me pick between Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Astrobot for Game of the Year should basically be a hate crime, so thanks for that. But no, if I'm being completely honest, you know, I've definitely thought about it a lot. And I'm really happy, I gotta say straight up, I'm really happy the industry recognized Astrobot and its team, and you know, small game, winning Game of the Year is amazing. Just all the things that game did right, I'm happy they're being celebrated for it. Truly phenomenal, masterpiece game. My personal Game of the Year, though, I gotta give it to Final Fantasy.
You had me in the first half. Just when I thought somebody was finally gonna agree with me on one of these submissions, you just had to be another one of these freaking Final Fantasy fanboys, whatever you are. I'm just kidding, man. Final Fantasy's great. Go on.
That is just, that is a life-changing experience that I will never forget. And I'm so happy to see how this saga ends in the third part. So that's my pick for a 2024 Game of the Year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I'm so happy that this game has been successful and that people love it and that it is like revitalizing 3D platformers in a way. Even for myself, I've kind of fallen out of love with caring about 3D platformers because they just haven't been super good for a long time. Even something like Mario Odyssey, which I think is fantastic, isn't like super special to me. And that's really the last one that has been of such high quality. I have not enjoyed a 3D platformer and just like felt the joy of playing a game like this since I was actually a child and was just enjoying Mario games and Banjo-Kazooie and stuff. I would say that I haven't enjoyed a 3D platformer this much since I was obsessed with like Mario Sunshine. Even Galaxy was a step back to me, which is unpopular. Again, don't comment on this. You don't need to talk about it. It's fine. Astrobot takes from so many games, but like in such an honorable way where it's like, here's an homage to Mario Sunshine. In a lot of ways, actually, this game feels like a Sunshine sequel, which is crazy. Because basically a lot of the power-ups that you get are things that you would do with Flood, like the upwards trajectory and like the forwards trajectory. It feels very Flood-like, which is very cool. But this game is just plays so smooth. The music is freaking incredible. It looks beautiful. It uses the controller in really unique ways, which I love. Again, it adds to the impact of the things you're doing. It feels very tangible. I love that. The controller is actually a really big part of what makes this game really great. The DualSense's capabilities are really used to their max, at least I assume is the max. The levels are tight and they're fun to explore. There's a lot of creative ideas in here, some of which are, again, clearly inspired from other games. And there's obviously some literal direct ripping of other games put into this as homages, with a lot of, there's like 5 levels that are literally ripped from other games and are meant to celebrating not only just PlayStation's history, but just, to me, this game is just a celebration of video games in general. And like, if you don't like this game, if you play this game and you don't like this game, I feel like you just don't like video games. You don't like, what? This point of this game is to express your love for video games. That's what they're doing when they made this. Like, there's no other game that has ever done it like this has. There's no other game that has made me smile 90% of the playthrough. That doesn't happen. I love this game. I cannot wait for them to make more, and I am very excited that it has been accepted so highly, or regarded so highly by just about everybody. And if you haven't played it, like, please, I'm begging you, put some joy into your life and play this game. Alrighty, that is my video. The 2024 Game of the Year tier list has been completed. I have been recording for 2 hours straight. I don't know how long this video is. Hopefully I can get it down to not too much over an hour. Oh boy, we'll see. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was worth the wait. I wanted to get this video out a long time ago, like I said. I'm doing my best here. This was a lot of fun to make, and I look forward to making things like this in the future, but also I got a lot of other ideas. If you have any ideas that you want to see from me, feel free to let me know in the comments or on Twitch right now if you're watching this live. Also, coincidentally, this week that I'm posting this, I'm streaming all week. So if you're catching this video around when it's uploaded, I'm probably streaming. My plan is to stream from Monday through Sunday, all day, every day. So come by twitch.tv/dguns and hang out if you want. If you're not watching it the week it's uploaded, I mean, there's a chance I'm streaming anyways. I stream 3 to 5 times a week. So come check out the Twitch channel if you want. And if you're ever curious to see what I think about a video game, you can go over to my backlogged account, backlog.com/doubleguns. Every time I play a game, afterwards I go and write a review about it. I did go back and write reviews, technically, for every game that I've ever played, of which I believe I am over 800 now, which is insane. You will notice if you go back to most older games, the reviews are very lazy and basically non-existent. I was just giving things star ratings, but they are all there. Thank you to everyone who made a cameo appearance as well. I know it was a little bit last minute asking for stuff, so I appreciate that you took the time out of your day to do that. I hope you liked the way I implemented it. Shout out to Jake Twitchin, Spiny Coin, Johnny Waffles, Hookie, Fizz-sama, and Sushi Drew. Links to all their stuff is in the description. I want to say thank you to everybody who has continued to support me as I have been taking my sweet time on making this video, but also just everything. I'm just thankful for anybody who watches anything that I do. You're awesome. Keep being awesome. Thank you to those that support me on Patreon. As of the recording of this video, we have BioBadger, Am, The Mex Factor, Cookie, Zion, Kinoth, and Doc. Thank you to all of you. And I will see you in the next video or when I stop playing this video right now on the stream. Thanks for watching.